take the time that I think this story instructs us to demolish, and that is the idea that Jesus Christ is still the meek and lowly Lamb of God, just kind and soft-spoken and inoffensive, not opening his mouth like a sheep to the slaughter. And because we have that idea, we advise each other to be Christ-like in that way. And I have news for you, sisters. That Jesus was hung on the cross and he died. And you are ruled today, and you follow today the captain of the Lord's hosts and the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the King of kings and the Lord of lords. And he is coming here. And if you have not read the book of Revelation, I suggest that you pause the podcast and do so. When he comes here, he is coming here to slaughter the armies of the evildoers. He is not on his way here to be polite to anyone. He is not on his way here to demonstrate inoffensiveness or to hand out sandwiches. So, let's just settle that from the get-go. Being kind and soft-spoken and inoffensive are certainly good and worthy things to be. But let us throw away the idea that Christ-likeness encompasses those things and those things alone. Because I think if we're very, very honest about the overall tone of the last, say, year of Jesus' ministry, of the tone of all of the recorded apostles towards the world, and especially religious authorities, the tone of all of the prophets. Let's think about, like, is it Hosea? No, I don't think it's Hosea. You know, there at the end of the Old Testament, and he says, I'm not a prophet, and I'm not the son of a prophet. I'm just, I'm like a shepherd, and sometimes I trim the trees. And I don't care what you guys think. Here's the message. And then, he's done. I guess what I'm trying to say is there are Ciceros out there right now. And if you do not think that if you do not think that there are people whose lives are dedicated to the destruction of the spiritual Israel, the church, the edifices of God, whatever you want to name those things, then you don't read the news and probably don't read the Bible either. I'm sorry, I don't know what else to say. It's all there. If you have read the Bible and then you go and scan the news somewhere like the Drudge Report or any of these aggregates where you get a sort of grouping of things from all over the place, you can go down the line of prophecy. You can print out those headlines and write Bible verses next to each one practically. If you don't think that we've got an enemy, well, I don't know what to say. You need to speak to the Lord about that because you're missing something, a really big piece of the puzzle. And furthermore, if you agree that we have an enemy and you believe that it is someone else's job to care about that, to flout him at every turn, to build up God's edifices in spite of him and against him, then you are also missing a very huge piece of the puzzle. And you should speak to the Lord about that. And that is what I believe that we can be taking away from these two chapters. If you'll notice, Deborah speaks very clearly to the willing. This passage is all about willingness from start to finish. Barak was promised by the Lord that victory was assured to him, that he should have that he wouldn't. There just was no chance that he could lose, and he still was not willing without conditions. And then when Sisera came along to Yael, she was willing to take that risk. You think about what she did. Now, I have read commentaries written by men who I guess they stopped reading before Deborah started her song, because they had a lot of actually really nasty things to say about Yael. I can't remember where I read that anymore. I don't want to talk smack or anything, but I think there may actually be a sort of disparaging comment in the John MacArthur Study Bible, now that I think about it. I don't know. I'll look it up and mention it again later. But that she was presumptuous, that she ran ahead of God, that Barak was chasing Sisera, and if Yael hadn't jumped in and ruined things, Barak would have caught up with him and been able to redeem himself from his cowardice earlier. Well, let me tell you something. A coward's a coward. Barak was the same coward when he caught up with Yael and was relieved that he didn't have to deal with Sisera, that he was when he refused to go unless a chick went with him. And I want to tell you that the world is full of Baraks today. And that's just a fact. We need to face that. Some of our husbands are Baraks. I guess that's better than your husband being Sisera, right? But our husbands are supposed to be, Jesus, figuratively. And so, what can you do? You pray. You pray. You don't pray against. You don't pray for God to take these bad qualities away. You pray for God to take away everything that hinders your husband and add to him everything that he lacks. You pray for God to bless him above all men on the planet. Listen, somebody's got to be the most blessed man on the planet. Why not your husband? Is he any less eligible than anybody else? No. He's the same sinner. He's got the same Bible and the same Holy Spirit. So pray for him. Pour blessings on him all day. Every time you think about him, just say, you know what, God, I'm greedy. I'm greedy to be the beneficiary of the most blessed man on the earth. Shower blessings on my husband. Show me every way that I hold him back, that my behaviors are responsible for exacerbating, his sins. Pray for that man. And God will bless him. He will. And you'll be blessed by it. And I tell you, someday you're going to wake up and, you're going to have to give God props for what great work he does. And that'll be true about you. You'll grow a lot through that too. So yeah, a lot of our husbands are Baraks. A lot of our husbands, they've been sort of beaten down by the society we live in. And, it's shameful to be strong and aggressive. It's shameful to be manly and to intimidate anybody, even if you didn't mean to, and it's not shameful at all to sit around on the couch playing video games and never really accomplish anything. It's not shameful at all for a grown man, to pay strangers to change his tires for him. You kidding me? I'm just saying. I can change a tire, and I'm not even a dude. I don't know. I don't like to see a man paying people to do stuff for him unless he just either can't or just flat out doesn't have the time. It doesn't seem right for me for a dude to, pay somebody to do something for him just because he doesn't feel like it. Who cares if you don't feel like it? You have a family. Get over it. I don't feel like doing the dishes. Got it anyway. But anyhow, the point is, I'm sorry, I ranted a little bit, but it is women's Bible study, so I guess if that didn't happen a little bit, it would be bizarre. The point is, pray for him, and God will answer you. And if you're not entirely sure if your husband is saved, big whoop, pray about that too. Listen, he's promised to hear you, and he's promised to answer you anytime you pray something that's in his will. The Bible also says that it's his will that everyone should be saved. In my opinion, that's 1 + 1 = 2. And 1 + 1 is going to equal 2 every time you do the math. So the trick is, do the math every day. He will hear you, and he will help you, and he'll help your husband. So, and who knows, maybe he's not nearly as bad as you think. And the way that God will help you is by opening your eyes and making you less critical, and seeing that, what you thought you needed or wanted was there all along, but you're the jerk. Who knows? That's been true about me a whole bunch of times. So that's another thing that I take from this is that we really do, we've got a problem. I have a son. He's 3 now. I do not know how to raise him. I don't know all that many manly Christian men, spirit-filled manly Christian men. I know manly churchgoers, and they are the men who run a church where there used to be a wives' Bible study. And I guess somebody went to the Bible study and learned something that contradicted with what her husband believed, and they fought about it, and the whole Bible study was canceled for all the wives because the risk couldn't be taken that these women would go and learn things contrary to the vision of the federal head of the home and cause discord. And because they saw it as the husband's primary responsibility to feed the Bible and understanding of it to his family, that Bible study was canceled. And that was that. So those are kind of the godliest manly men I know, and they're not doing a really good job. And all the other Christian men I know are so soft-handed and so soft-spoken and so inoffensive that I have a hard time reconciling them with, Peter and Paul and John and Spurgeon and, Whitfield and these guys. There's some kind of element of manliness that has left Christianity. And some people have tried to address it. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Mark Driscoll, but that dude is a hot Satan mess. And so that really gave sort of a stink to the idea even of Christian manliness, which I guess I don't know if y'all even want to talk about because it is a women's Bible study. But it's here in these passages, and we have sons. And sisters, if y'all know how, if there's, I don't know, a video, a book out there that's going to help me, help my son against these influences that want to make us think it's okay for your son to wear a Peppa Pig raincoat and Peppa Pig rain boots, and for that it's, let's not get into the details because that's how arguments start. But let's all admit that men are men and women are women. And I was raised by a woman. My father wasn't around. He was a jerk anyway, so it wouldn't have taught me anything that I would want my son to know. And all the Christians I know are either, well, not all. That's not true, but most, hyper masculine, Dutch Reformed screwballs or whose wife